Welcome to Insights into a Soul, the podcast that no one asked for. This is a podcast about life, love, and everything in between. So grab a cup of coffee and relax, and join me as we gain insights into a soul. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of Insights into a Soul, a podcast that no one asked for. I'm your host, Torrin, as you probably know. I am here with Will Young.
Hello.
William Young.
This is my, what, will this be second or third?
I think this will be your, you've been on some podcasts.
I've been on a podcast.
And you will be on some podcasts. Yes. So, I'm sure you'll be on more in the future as well.
Have more planned for me?
Who knows? Oof. We'll see how it goes. We'll see what the response is. The people might want you back.
They may vote against me, though.
And look, they like Jeff, so...
You're right. Like I'm going to be on a lot more than
like Jeff. You're going to be a staple. No. But, as we've covered in podcasts before, Will's a friend of mine. We've been friends for a little while now. He's one of those people that supported me and helped me through my breakup and that whole time. And if you haven't heard it already, he'll be on a podcast with a special podcast. I'm not going to give it away in case we haven't released it yet. But today...
We had a code name for it. We probably shouldn't
say that. We're not going to say that code name. It's not a good code name. It's a good code name, but not
podcast appropriate.
Not podcast appropriate. Listen, this is an adult podcast. Mm-hmm. Right, this is a real podcast. It's real. But today we wanted to talk to Will about his relationship.
Can we relate this back and forth between us, not just me?
No, it's all you. All gonna be on you. Right. No, Will. But it's interesting because Will went through, a difficult time in the relationship. Mm-hmm. He went through a breakup a little bit before I went through my breakup.
A few months, yeah.
Yeah, and I was there for him as a friend through that.
You were.
And when I went through mine, he was there for me. And, it was good having someone that went through a breakup, because it helped me in a lot of different ways. And I'm
glad it helped. I don't really like to compare them, since yours was 13 years and mine was 2 years and we were not married.
So this is something I like to say.
Still.
It doesn't matter how long the relationship was, and even the level of, like, if you were married or not. Because the thing is, and I think, we've talked about this on some podcasts, is that you invest in the other person. Mm-hmm. You attach to that person. I mean, obviously, the longer you're with someone, the more and deeper that attachment becomes.
Yep.
But it still meant something to you, and it was a big part of your life. So time at that point to me doesn't matter, because it's still... I still look at it this way: is that a breakup, a marriage ending, a relationship ending, boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever level it is, it's still something that you've attached yourself to someone. They've attached themselves to you. So there's pain, there's trauma, there's challenges, and no one can say that, well, my challenge is greater than your challenge, because it's personal, it's relevant to the individual. So so your relationship, maybe it wasn't as long as mine, but I believe that it still obviously was a major impact on your life.
It was absolutely a major impact on my life.
And, our hearts break, and who's to say my heartbreak is greater than yours?
I have no idea. You've talked about yours being the first real, true relationship for you.
Yeah.
I feel I'm on that level as well. Like, I've had relationships in the past as well, but this was definitely the longest. It was the one that I was most certain of love within as well. And that's where I think I definitely see some commonalities for us.
So let's kind of set this up then. So your relationship, how long has it been since you broke up?
Let's see. I think it was April of last year.
Okay, so almost a year.
Coming
up on a year. And then how long were you guys together?
We were together for I think, total amount of time together, 2.5 to 3 years. I don't remember which year we started dating, but I think we were together for about 5 months, and we actually broke up for 3 months, and then got back together after that.
Yeah, because I know that big part of the reason you moved down here to the Charlotte area was because of her.
Yeah, right? That was solely the reason I moved down. We can use her name, Lauren.
Okay.
Lauren was solely the reason I moved down here, honestly. She was in grad school for audiology, and she had gotten to a point in her education that she needed to go do a clinical study at a actual career facility working with patients, and she had chosen the Charlotte region to work with, and I ended up joining her on that experience.
Yeah. So how long were you down here together before you guys broke up?
Before we fell apart.
Yeah, before. Before it all went to shit. No.
Let's see. We moved here in June of 2018. Right? Is that right? Yeah, I'll say 2018. Broke up in April 2019, so I think that's what, 6-8 months, something like that.
That you were here.
Yeah.
So you were together for a couple years almost before you moved down here.
I think, yes. I think we were together for a full 2 years before we moved down here.
So
about a half
So it
year
was
after.
it wasn't like it wasn't a short-term relationship.
No,
when you moved
no.
down here, there was history established. Like you guys,
Yes.
yeah, and you guys were
was-
pretty serious.
Yes, very serious. Serious enough that, like, I was... So she is from Connecticut originally and was in Illinois for her education. So moving here was not a huge thing for her. I am from Illinois originally and met her while I was there, and that is where my support system was. That is where my family is. That is where all my friends were. That's where, honestly, everything I knew in the world was. So.
Yeah, your whole life was literally there.
It was serious enough that I left that behind to be with her.
Yeah. I mean, that's a huge step. I mean, you're completely leaving friends, family, everything you knew to move down here for her.
Yes.
So why did you move down here for her?
Variety of reasons. I'll start with my own personal approach to it. I did not like the job I was at, and I don't know. I went to a very small high school, small enough that like my graduating class was 27 people. Very small, very rural high school, and everybody from that school is still within that town, within that same group of people that they were familiar with from high school. And I did not honestly really want to be a part of that. I wanted to go out. I wanted to be a larger part of the world. I wanted to see something else within that world. So this was definitely an opportunity for me to escape to that. For a very personal reason.
Just a small town girl living in a small town world.
Yeah, I wanted to be
a lonely world. I don't know.
a city boy.
Growing up in South Detroit.
Yeah, I grew up in South Detroit. Instead, I chose Belmont, North Carolina.
Not even Charlotte. Like
No. We started in Belmont. But beyond my own personal reasons, like, this was the first woman I really loved, too. Like, I definitely went back and forth on this decision of, should I go with? Should we try it long distance? Should we break up? I evaluated all the options on this. I mean, I can think of 3 very specific phone calls and conversations with my parents about what does it truly mean to love somebody, and fucking just bawling my eyes out and talking about it and trying to decide my actual emotions on it, and ultimately decided, yes, I love this woman. I want to be with her on her growth. I want to be a part of it.
You want to do life with her.
I want to do life with her. Yeah.
Like, you were in it for the long haul.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I hopped on board, and I was all about it. There was obviously, I mean, like, tons of hesitation on my part because it was a huge decision. But I jumped on.
Yeah.
I wanted to be a part of it.
Yeah. So, okay, so you moved down here. you were down here for what? I think you said about 6 months or so.
I say 6 months ultimately.
Because I remember like you were working with us, and and I met her and we hung out a little bit. Like, me and Jess and you.
We've done double dates.
Yeah, I've done some double dates and stuff, and she seemed like, I mean, you guys seemed really into each other. Like, it was like, oh, this is a good relationship. I mean, I know you cared about her and stuff. And so when did you think that like things started to go south?
That's the tricky part. Is I truly never thought that until it was ending.
So you never like. Now, okay, hindsight's always 20/20. So now that it's over, do you look back and see where? Oh, okay, I'm seeing some spots now where
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. So in the moment, it was. I mean, this was my first very long, extended relationship. It was, and as I've said before, I moved down here with the intent of this is the long haul. I want to make this happen, make this work, and I'm all about it. And so my mindset was, yeah, we're going to have some tough times, and that's fine. And she's going through her grad school program. There's tons of stress on her, and all these other factors that I kept using as excuses as being a part of issues within our own relationship. Looking back on it now, I mean, even from the moment I moved down here, I waited 2 weeks actually to move down here with her. From that moment on, there was something off. Looking back on it, there's definitely some very key points within our relationship. I mean, tons of happiness within the time frame we were here as well, but there's definitely some very highlighted moments within that time that stand out as problematic.
So, at what point? How did it end?
It sucks to say it did not end on my terms. I don't want to dive too deeply into details and names or anything like that, but there was another party that eventually, in my mind, and I'm sure she would disagree, that another party that corrupted our relationship, essentially, that she moved on to.
Let's, because I think this other party, did you learn about this after the fact?
No.
Oh, really? Okay, so you found out about this before you guys actually...
Yeah, I had suspicions beforehand, and then they were confirmed.
Gotcha.
Eventually.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
when we moved here, neither of us knew anybody, of course.
Yeah.
So we kind of struggled with friendships, and we joined this group. It was a meetup group that we joined, and great people, still friends with most of them. We got together with this group, and it was eventually somebody from that group kind of showed their true colors and expressed very scheming interests overall. And I'm 100% certain that Lauren would disagree with all of this, but it was 100% planned from that person's perspective from the start.
Yeah. So how did it actually end? Like,
how did it actually end? I can honestly tell you the dates, and that's the worst part.
No, I'm right there with you.
Yeah. So I had suspicions when we went to Mexico, actually, the first time, you and I, for movement work.
Yeah.
I had suspicions, honestly, because we were messaging back and forth, and I was just not getting replies ever.
Yeah.
And that raised flags for me, because that had never happened. I didn't really push it too far, but I knew something was off, and eventually it came to a point that I realized that she was on to something else, not me.
So she had already started to move on to
Yes.
this other relationship.
Yes.
While she was still okay.
And at the end of our relationship, she would have disagreed with that. I don't know if she still does, but that was the case. Whether or not she
Well, I mean, so, okay.
would admit it.
So let's preface this then. So what we're talking about is obviously, like, our desire is never to slander the other person or, make them
and
out to
I
something they
want
aren't.
to clarify that we definitely had our issues. There were some faults in our relationship that like, we weren't going to last. I know that now from even the outside perspective.
Yeah, but what I mean in all this too is just kind of a disclaimer is that, our goal is never to paint the other person as a bad person.
Absolutely not.
But at the same time, relationships, there's always the perspective of the person. Mm-hmm. So all of this is from your perspective. This is your thoughts, your perspective
this is absolutely
on things.
My perspective.
And truth in this situation, I think, is relative to what you saw, what you experienced. I mean, obviously, like you said, there's parts she's going to do. I think with my relationship ending too, I think, Jessica's going to have a certain, I don't want to say narrative, but just a different perspective on it.
Yeah.
She sees things differently than I do. That's who we are. We're human.
And neither party is wrong.
Exactly. It's how
it is perspective
is to you. Yeah.
And I am confident enough to be able to lightly speak on her perspective on it as well, because we had some very heated conversations and chats about it towards the end as well. Like, there's definitely a divide within our relationship of, like, it was doomed to fail to an extent of there was enough issues between us that, like, the passion ran out, and as Jimmy put it, we felt like roommates towards the end.
Yeah.
That sucks a lot. Because definitely, yes, 100% agree, that was the case. And I was told towards the end that we had tried to talk about it, and I don't honestly remember that, and I wish I did, because I would have put more effort into talking about it and trying to fix it, too.
Yeah. I think it's interesting how many similarities there are between the way my relationship ended, the way yours did, as far as, like, you talk about the passion was gone, and you became more roommates. I think that's very similar to, what it was with my relationship. We did feel more like roommates. The intimacy was slowly dwindling.
Right.
Same thing. I knew that it was coming. I felt it.
Yeah. I knew before it was even talked about.
Yeah,
for sure.
And that was the thing for me too.
Because I was in another country, and I knew.
Yeah. Like, for me, like, when she told me her decision, it was this odd side of it, like, oh, okay, I knew this was coming. Again, I wish we could have done more, maybe. Part of me still thinks that we could have salvaged it.
I think that, too.
Yeah, and at what cost, though?
Right.
Like,
ultimately, I'm glad we haven't salvaged
Now,
it.
for me, I know, too, that I feel like if we had worked it out, I feel that I can confidently say down the road we would have ended up in the same place.
Right.
What about you? I
wholeheartedly agree with that. I think it would have ended under different circumstances, for sure. Not happily, but I will say I felt cheated in the end. And if it had proceeded, I don't think I would have had that same feeling. It would have been a more natural end.
Yeah. So it ended, you said you knew on that trip. So how long after that trip was it that it officially ended?
You'll love this.
Uh-oh.
We actually broke up on your birthday.
Oh.
I remember we went to Yume for your birthday, and Lauren did not join us.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she was supposed to.
Yeah, that dinner sucked.
And we were all like, "Oh, where's Lauren?"
And you all told me how great she is and we should get married.
Yeah. Because you said like she couldn't make it or something. Yeah. It was very vague. Yeah.
And looking back on it, I realized I was making excuses like that for a lot of different social activities for her, down to the point of, like, there was some point where my parents visited, and I do not know 100% whether or not she actually was sick during that entire duration, but she could not join us on activities during that time, and that hurt a lot.
Yeah. So it ended, because I think we went to President's Club beginning of April, so shortly thereafter.
Yeah.
So, okay, so, we talked about the relationship, how it kind of went. Let's get a little deep here.
Okay.
Will. how did you handle that? What kind of like was your state of mind? What happened with you after that?
I did not handle it well, for sure. Given the circumstances, I moved out as soon as and I'm not gonna put this lightly, as soon as I fucking possibly could. Like within a week's time, which is a really hard way to find a new place to live.
Yeah.
So I moved out, and honestly, communication pretty much severed right after that. There was one instance afterwards, and it still leaves me heated because it was not positive. Like, it was not a bad experience, but it was not... She was so damn happy, and that upset me so damn much.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because...
I can relate to that.
Yeah. The hardest part of all of it was honestly losing such a positive connection within my life. Like, honestly losing a best friend that I could talk to about anything, go to about anything, and be 100% me around.
Yeah.
And losing that hurts.
Yeah.
A lot.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I had completely forgotten what to do with myself. There was definitely like a very extended period of just straight up depression.
No.
Definitely did not handle it well.
No.
It took a while to come out of, for sure.
So, do you still... So how long has it been now? It's been...
Let's see. I guess April will be about a year.
Yeah, so almost a year. Do you feel that there are questions you never got answers to?
Yeah. Like, I've got questions I definitely want to ask.
Yeah.
But honestly, I'm never going to.
Yeah. And how does it feel knowing that you're not... You will never get answers to certain questions. You'll never potentially fully understand why or what.
It sucks.
Yeah.
It sucks a lot.
So how have you dealt with that?
When we were breaking up, there was the conversation of, do we maintain our friendship? And
yeah.
of course you say yes in the moment because you hope for something to come back and it to respond, essentially. It never happens. Never. There's no clean break. There's no... You're doing much better on this than me, but there's no friendship after that.
So you talk about how, because I think our situations are similar, but our situations are different in that you talk about, like, your initial reaction was, yeah, let's still be friends.
Yeah.
But you find that difficult to maintain.
Absolutely. I mean, that was something I just told myself in the moment.
Whereas, so for me, like, the parallel here is that, like, I said the same thing. Like, yeah, I still want to be your friend, because 13 years together. Again, best friends. It's this person that knows everything about me, and I know everything, I think, about them. But, like you kind of said, there's this I was kind of, not forced, but there's extra motivation for me to maintain a good relationship.
Absolutely.
Because we've got kids together.
Yep.
So, that being said, to be completely honest and transparent, especially now, several months after, there's been times where I've said, I wish things were different in that... I don't want this to sound wrong, but not that... I don't want to say I wish things were different. So let me say this. Things would be different if we didn't have kids, because... I feel like it would be easier for me to disconnect if we didn't have that tie.
Yep.
I don't wish that any of it was different. I love my kids, and they're amazing. And I'm thankful for them. But I think it would be easier for me to heal if we didn't have that connection, because there's times, especially now, where part of me wishes I could just be completely done with conversation with her, because it would help me to move on, to let go. And to just move on to that next phase. But I don't want to say I'm forced, but there's that tie where I have to have the conversations with her, to talk to my kids, to see my kids. So I don't want to say there's extra motivation, because I'm also the type of person that naturally, I want to maintain relationships. I think I've talked about this. I haven't talked about this on a podcast yet, but I'm going to. Where even if it's a bad relationship or, somebody does something wrong to me, not saying Jessica did anything wrong to me, but I still want to maintain a relationship with that person. Because no matter who it is, I always see the best in someone and what they could be. And I forgive, and I want to continue to be friends with that person. And so with Jess, it's a little bit more of a reason to maintain a good friendship, but it's still my core nature to want to maintain friendships.
Right.
Okay. So
hold on.
Yeah,
I want to say I'm a little envious of your situation. I'm glad we don't have children together, but I do wish there was that opportunity where we could maintain some level of connection and even in passing have a slight conversation.
Do you think that would help you, though?
I really honestly don't know. I mean, like I said before, it's this person that you're such a great friend with, somebody that knows you inside and out, and you love them. You do.
Yeah.
And it's such a hard thing to give up. I'm like, I don't hate her.
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, absolutely.
I hate the circumstance of how we're apart. And Lauren and I are both people where we both, I'm not going to say run from hardship, but we avoid confrontation. I'll say that.
Yeah.
We don't want to have those hard moments together. So now that we're not together, I mean, it's very easy to avoid, but it's there's just an extra feeling there. Like I wish I could still be her friend, but I can't.
I would challenge you in that you wish that, but because we'll move into kind of the healing phase. Do you think you would be where you are mentally and emotionally if you still had that tie to her? Because what I've seen with relationships, so what I've seen with relationships is when some relationships, it's better to completely sever the ties to that person, even though there's always going to be answers and questions and that you never get, opportunities that you never have. There's always going to be those thoughts of, well, if we would have done this differently, this could have happened, or this or that, But if you maintain those connections and those ties to that individual,
it's hard.
It can actually stunt your healing.
Absolutely.
Because there's always going to be that thing in the back of your mind, like, oh, maybe she'll give me another chance. Maybe we'll be able to make this work. Maybe she'll come around to her senses.
Yeah. Every reminder, every fucking like on Instagram hurts.
Yeah.
And before I dive into this, I want to clarify. What was I going to say? Cut this out. No. Before I dive into this, I want to clarify that it's not something out of pity or anything like this. As when we moved here, this is something we had a very deep conversation about. She really struggles with friendships and being on a very deep level with people, and I really valued having that level with her, and I know she still struggles with it with new people, and I wish I could still be helpful with that, but also I can't because it's not good for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's not our responsibility to fix others, but
that's such a hard thing to give up.
It
for
is.
Me.
I think
to not fix others.
For anybody. There are some people...
Fixing things is my thing.
There are some people, too, I think, that say that they can do that, that say they can just drop someone and move on. I don't think they fully can.
No.
I think if they're honest with themselves, they can. So, with that, I would wonder how much her difficulty having deep relationships played into having a genuinely deep relationship with you.
I would also like to know that.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I would say, I mean,
if we're having the conversation about the difficulty of having deep relationships like that, I want to think I've reached that cusp of that deeper relationship. Yeah. But honestly, I don't know.
I think, you could look back and say you got deeper into a relationship and a connection with her than most people do. Which it says something.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I think that when people have traits like that it keeps them from even having the deep relationships with their significant others.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I mean, obviously there's a
lot
level of care.
Self-reflection needs to be done.
Yeah. So, okay, so let's, so, you had difficulty coping with it, and you went through that time of depression and stuff. So how did you make the shift? Because obviously you're better now.
Thank you. Yes,
you're able to talk about it. You're able to kind of...
I can talk about it confidently.
Yeah,
sure.
And that's a huge thing. So how did you make that transition from hurt into healing?
Time and reflection. That's my best diplomatic answer to all of that.
Okay.
So, like I said, I got out as fast as I could, moved away. I ended up moving 3 times within about 3 months. I don't recommend anybody ever does that. That's terrible. Thank you to everybody that helped me move, Torin, and Eric and Eli, and my aunt and uncle. But yeah, time and self-reflection. When you're not in a relationship, you have a ton of time to yourself to look inside.
Sure do.
And figure out, like, how you were detrimental to the relationship and how you can be a better you, essentially. That was honestly one of my greater struggles was once, like, once the depression passed, essentially, learning what to do with myself.
Yeah.
There were more hours in the day than I remembered.
Yeah.
I got to a point where I was bored again. That hadn't happened in a while. It was honestly a little bit exciting because now I can pursue other things.
Yeah.
There's, I don't know, I feel a little more flexible.
So how did you move from asking yourself all these questions of, like, what could I have done differently to not being the dominant thought for you? Dwelling on that.
I probably should have gone through some therapy. I did not. I decided to just sit down and meditate on what was going on in my life. Trying to pull every perspective I could into it. It's something I occasionally like to do is sit down with, like, a negative thought, and then whatever the negative thought is about, put myself in the shoes of that subject of why is that happening. That actually helped a lot of trying to decide whether or not it's right, just like putting myself in that perspective of why did she feel the need to leave, and what was wrong with me, things like that. It hurts a lot to look at yourself that way, but it's super helpful. That was one of my greater tools, was just time and energy to put into that.
Yeah. So at what point did you really see it start to turn? Because I think it's good, but it's dangerous because we can easily get stuck in a cycle of constantly dwelling on those negatives.
Yeah.
And
there were definitely days like that, and I'm sure like it's a cycle of you have 5 good days in a row, and then something happens, and then you feel like bedridden for, like, the next 2 days or something like that. Yeah. It was a matter of... So I also changed up my job at the same time, and that was out of a necessary need for being able to make more money to afford to live in Charlotte, honestly.
Yeah.
And that gave me something to focus on. Okay, I need to create a new demo reel. I need to make a update to my resume. There's these new tools I need to utilize for myself. And then that gave me another look at myself. And okay, what can I do better? Can I even be at a point where I want to lead a team or something at a different job? I've never led a team. It was kind of an exciting thought. It's something I've never considered before, and that gave me a little bit of a mind shift, honestly. To go to that point of, like, okay, I know what I like to do, and I know what kind of encourages me to do things. I don't have to lead a team right now, but I can think about this a little bit more, and then eventually I can kind of apply that to others if I want to. That was nice.
So it was really like, you got to this point where you decided to make some changes.
Some drastic life changes.
And part of it was like necessary changes.
Yeah. I was in a level of contentment for sure. And this is kind of getting off of the point we were getting at, but when I moved here, it was never a thought in my mind that I would be in Charlotte forever.
Yeah.
Because we moved here so she could finish her degree, and then after that, it was a question mark.
Yeah.
We didn't know. She has ended up staying here, but honestly, at that point, we could have gone anywhere once she finished her degree. So I wasn't really connecting on a high level with a lot of people.
Yeah.
And now I could.
So what do you feel like is next? The next step for you in this process?
In this process? I kind of feel like I'm at a close for this process, honestly. Like, honestly, I mean, it still hurts, of course, but I'm not having restless nights. I'm not sitting in bed all day long or anything like that anymore. Yeah. That's a big step, honestly, getting through that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah. Next, it's just, like, I even stopped looking around for, like, dating or anything like that. It was just, I just want to think about me.
Yeah.
Like, what do I want to do next?
So focusing more on yourself and moving forward with that, and kind of, just kind of like see where things go and go with the flow type thing.
Rolling with it.
Nice. So, we're coming to a close. Wrapping this up.
Do you want to talk about you, though?
Nah, this is a podcast about you. I'll get into myself on other podcasts and solo podcasts.
Don't make it about me. Come on.
No, this is about you. We're talking through you. It's like the therapist couch, sitting here talking through your relationship, and I think people can learn from your situation. It's your situation. You're not the only person that's gone through this or that will go through this, and so I think there's people out there that'll hear your story, and maybe you will be the turning point at which you're like, oh, this guy made it through it. I can make it through it.
I hope so.
No, I absolutely think so. I'm finding that out with my story and situation that people are finding the strength because I've shared my story. Mm-hmm. So they're seeing how I'm not over this by any means. I'm not out of the woods yet. Long way to go.
It's a hard thing to gauge, honestly.
Yeah.
Some days, I don't give it a second thought, and then other days, it's like, oh, shit, that happened.
Yeah, which I think is interesting. It's an interesting thing about trauma, and especially, relationships ending, because you don't go through the normal stages of grief. Mm-hmm. It's, you think you're okay, and then you're not okay, and then you think you're okay, and then something triggers it, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, my God, how am I going to continue on? But you get stronger, I think, every time. I think what I'm finding is that those moments are fewer and far between.
Yep.
And when they happen, I'm able to identify it and get through it quicker. It doesn't knock me down and keep me down as much as it used to.
Oh, no. Something else I just thought of. You were talking about you got a new car because so many memories with the old car and trouble and just... It just made you think of Jess all the time.
Yeah.
That's Charlotte for me, and it sucks. And it's very hard. I'm glad that when Lauren and I were together, we did not really go out and explore much of Charlotte.
Yeah,
because that would have made it much more difficult. But even think about movement. She was part of movement. Even coming down to Pineville, that's where we lived.
Yeah.
We lived in Belmont. Anytime I go there, I'm like, oh shit, I went to String Bean with Lauren. I'm like, god damn, that sucks. But I'm like, there's so much more around. Yeah. I'm glad I'm able to take advantage of now. I don't have to think about that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I've talked to a few people that have gone through divorces and stuff like that, and a big part of healing for them was moving, and not moving out of the city per se. But moving out of the house that they lived in together, the apartment. And that's honestly been something that's kind of on my mind and a struggle because, the house I'm in now, been here for almost 6 years.
Yeah.
Jessica and I bought it together.
Yeah.
And raised family here.
That's tough.
So I've really been on the fence and wrestling with, do I stay in this house? I don't want to sell the house, but... Does she take it over and live here? I mean, she lives, different state now, 6 hours away. So do I rent the house out? Do I fix it up? There's a lot of equity in our house, fortunately. And it's funny because I asked her about this the other week, and I think even she's getting to the point where she would be okay selling the house. Even though it's our first house purchase and everything, it's just, for me, there's a lot of memories here. And, a big thing of healing for people has been finding a new place to live. So I've really debated on, it's a nice house, but I've debated on, do I buy a new house? Do I move? Different area, stay in the same town. So that's kind of where I'm at now. The car helped. I have a new car. She has the old car. Yeah, I love it. It's a great car. It's everything I want in a car.
Yes, Rachel? Sorry.
And so, that's helped because it's new memories. I feel like it's mine. It's not ours.
Yeah.
It's mine. And the house.
It's your accomplishment.
I've been rearranging the house and hanging artwork and kind of trying to make it my own space. But again, there's still the girls' rooms and all the stuff from the girls, and I think I've done a good job of not getting rid of a lot of Jessica's stuff, but packing her stuff up and getting it to her and just moving it out of my living spaces.
Empowering where you live.
Yeah, but there's still that thing in the back of my head, maybe I need to find a place that is mine and make it mine. But yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. So,
it's a hard thing.
It is.
Every object I own essentially has a memory attached to it, and I can't get rid of that.
Yep.
It just sucks.
So, positive note. Let's end this on a positive note.
Yes, positive note.
Like I said, I think you're helping people. Your story's going to help people.
Key takeaways or something?
Yeah, like a challenge.
Oh, my challenge?
Your challenge to people, but also what's the one thing that you would say to someone going through a breakup, a separation, or even just a difficult time? A time where they might be depressed and they might feel like there's no future.
Yeah.
They don't know how they're going to make it through this. Because again, every challenge is big to that person that's going through that challenge. So it might be something that's minor to you or me, but to them, it's a mountain that they don't think that they'll be able to make it through.
Hey, I'll take to know what are the mountains we had to overcome here. Honestly,
your advice.
Time is your largest mountain you have to overcome. Time heals all wounds, as I think is some famous saying or one or another. But it is actually true. You have to put in the time to recover. And the fastest way to do that is lean on the support system you have around you. Find your friends that want to go to dinner, pull you out of your funk, help you move, whatever it may be. Just those are the ones that care. And lean on them. It's going to be the best time-consuming thing you can do, honestly.
I think the big thing that, time and time again we're shown is that we're never meant to go through this life alone. Even the most lonely people, the ones that want to be alone, they seem to still long for connection, for a relationship. I think as human beings, we long for connection, for a relationship, for acceptance. No, go ahead.
Well, I just thought of something. It's I think one of my greater tools I've learned out of this is to be able to show weakness to people that I'm maybe not super familiar with, but showing weakness builds friendships.
Would you say weakness or would you say vulnerability?
Okay, I'll go with vulnerability.
Okay.
Definitely. That's a better description of it for sure. I'm so much closer with so many people because of that vulnerability.
Yes, I agree.
Which has been a fascinating thing, honestly.
Transparency, vulnerability, and genuineness all kind of go hand in hand. And I've found just myself too, similar to what you're saying, is that goes such a long way. That, again, people crave authenticity. They crave a relationship. Like me, opening up with this podcast, just being honest and open and authentic, has had such a greater reach than I even imagined. Because I didn't do it for that. I didn't do it for the recognition or the reach or anything. I did it for me.
Thing.
Huh?
It's a therapy thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the thing. And so your that advice, find a support system. Lean on that support system, whatever it may be.
And be true to them. Be vulnerable with them. Be
yourself
yourself with them.
Be genuine.
Yeah.
Genuine. I think genuineness is something that, like, we really struggle with. And this is a whole nother podcast topic we get into, but, like, in the Instagram culture, genuine, it's so easy to make ourselves look like something we're not, look better than we are.
Yeah.
You can Photoshop the shit out of your pictures and your life.
Yeah,
I mean, you're literally Photoshopping your life at this point nowadays. Yep. But I don't care who you are. People can sniff out disingenuous people.
Yeah.
And, so just be genuine. Be yourself. Lean on others. I think, like you said, I think you're in a great place. I've seen you, through your phases. You seem better. You're able to talk about it.
When you first launched this podcast, I'm like, damn it, I'm going to be on this. I'm going to be talking
got
to
it.
Lauren, and I'm going to be bawling my eyes out. I haven't cried at all. This is great.
No, we haven't cried at all. I haven't done my job. No, no, you haven't cried at all. But I think that's good. That shows that you're in. And I think through talking through things like this, I've realized, I'm in a much better place than I thought I was. Mm-hmm. Like, some days I'm like, oh my gosh, I think I'm a mess and I'm a wreck. And then I'm able to talk about it like this, and I realize.
Such a large part of it. It's like, you don't honestly realize your growth until you're talking about it.
Exactly. It's hard to see things when you're down in the weeds and in the shit. But when you can, like, take that moment with someone and kind of, like, rise above and, like, look at it. And I think that's why therapy, I think, and counseling is so important. Whether it's just having friends that are your personal therapists and counselors. Obviously, going to a professional is always recommended and a better solution. But friends are just as helpful. But that's what their whole point is to help you step outside of your body and see your situation, because it might not be as bad as you think it is. Or you might have made more progress than you realize. And I know that's what it's been for me.
Even when it's fresh, I remember it was the first day I went back to work after Lauren and I's breakup, and I was sitting in the studio with you and Jeff. And you just frankly asked me, like, what happened, and I was holding some tears back, explaining it, and but it just felt good to talk about.
Yeah,
even in its
gotta get it out.
Purest, most active form. Yeah,
that's why this podcast has helped me, just being able to talk through it, because I even have these moments too of clarity where I'm talking about something, I'm like, oh man, that's really what happened, or I should think about it this way. And then talking to other people like you and other friends of mine who've been through the same type of thing is you realize things that you wouldn't have realized on your own, that they have a different perspective. Like, actually, this is the way you're talking about it, but if you think about it, this is what really happened or is really going on. And it helps us just kind of refocus and I think give confidence in that it's not as bad as you think it is. Yeah. Or
it could always be worse.
It's like maybe your situation is not as bad as you think your situation is, or you've made more progress than you think you have. I think there's always positives that come out of it. Or then you have that other side of it, though. People are like, you're not as good as you think you are.
Yeah.
Maybe your situation's not.
Well, that's where you need to figure out, like, are you the cause of the failure, or are these just shitty friends?
Exactly. So that's why it's very important to genuineness. Yeah. Because that's what it comes down to. Honesty and genuineness. And I think in times like this, too, like, we really, it's the saying of, like, you're refined in the fire. Yep. Your friendships are refined in the fire.
What doesn't kill you makes you stronger?
Yeah. Diamonds, are created under pressure, all that stuff, and throw all the big leadership, executive talk, But no, seriously, I mean, synergy. There's a lot of truth to that, though, is that, if you're going through a tough time and you come out and you're like, I don't know what's going on, okay, we've got a bigger problem. Yeah, no, I mean, Will, I think you're obviously in a much better place than you've been. You're continuing, I mean, you're still, I don't think it ever fully goes away. No. It's never, I don't think we're ever going to get to a point where we're like, I'm good, completely done, that doesn't affect me at all. We're always going to have moments.
Absolutely.
Or things that remind us.
There's always a memory tied to something, but
always.
as long as you're still continuing to grow yourself, you're moving forward.
Yep. And don't let our situations and circumstances define us.
Yeah.
We continue to define ourselves by what we do, how we act, how we react, how we think. Yep. Thanks for, joining me on this episode. Thanks for opening up and bearing your soul to us.
You're welcome.
It's appreciated. Thank you for your genuineness.
It was easier than I thought it would be.
Yeah, look at that. You're better than you realized you were.
Yep, absolutely.
Further along in your process. Mm-hmm. So until next time, thanks for tuning in. As I say in the other episodes, make sure you like and subscribe and leave feedback.
Do we need a challenge?
I think your challenge was to look at your friends and make sure you have a good support structure.
We'll
That's your challenge. Make sure you have a good support structure.
Like and subscribe.
But leave the feedbacks, leave the comments, the messages you guys send. Inspire me and give me ideas, and keep me pushing forward. If you want to be on the episode or have something to talk about, email me, insightsintoasoul@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook. You can find me on Instagram. Drop me a line, and we got more guests coming your way, a lot more deep conversation, a lot more souls to explore. So until next time, see you guys. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Insights into a Soul. If you enjoyed this podcast, make sure to like and subscribe and to share it with your friends. Make sure to follow us on Facebook, Insights into a Soul, on Instagram, @TorinH, and if you have suggestions for future episodes or topics, or if you'd like to be on the podcast, contact us, insightsintoasoul@gmail.com.